And tonight is part 2, and we're talking about press refresh on priorities. Press refresh on priorities. And when we talk about press and refresh on priorities, we're talking about evaluating, gauging, and really reevaluating our time, attention, gifts, and resources, and where it's all going. And we're asking God tonight whether those investments agree with what he's asking for us in this season, because there are a lot of people who find themselves busy, but are they busy doing what God has asked them to do, or are they busy just doing what someone else asked them to do? So tonight we're going to have a deeper conversation about this, and I believe that by the end of tonight's conversation, we're going to be able to successfully align if what we are doing, what we are putting our time and talent to in this season is aligned with what it is God is asking us for. All right. So I want you to meet me over in Haggai chapter 1, and we'll be in verses 2 through 11. To those on YouTube watching, I need my fast typers to go ahead and type it in the chat. All right. Haggai chapter 1, verses 2 through 11. Now, I'm going to deep dive on each one of these verses. So I am going to simply go verse by verse. I'll read the verse and then I'll go deeper into it. Okay. And before getting to verse 2, again, Haggai chapter 1, verses 2 through 11 is what will be. And before I explain Haggai chapter 1, starting with verse 2, there's some stuff that you really need to understand here. Okay. You got to understand the context. My father in ministry always said, things are better understood in context, okay? And so here's what we need to know. God's people had been taken away from their home for many years. And during this time, their entire city, what we call Jerusalem, had been destroyed. And the temple, the place where they worshiped, had also been destroyed. And so years later, these people who had been displaced were finally able to go back home. And when they went home, their top priority was to rebuild the church. It was to rebuild the temple, and they actually started rebuilding it, but then they stopped. Why did they stop? Because life happened. They stopped because they started facing opposition. They got discouraged, and eventually all of their attention shifted. So instead of finishing what God had given them to do, they started putting more of their energy into their own houses, into their own lives, into their own priorities. Yikes. Does this sound like anybody? You know what it feels like for God to tell you to do something and then life happened, right? So by the time we get here to Haggai chapter 1, God is basically saying, I need you to look at what's become important to you. You're doing a lot, but you have neglected the one thing that I told you to do. And that is why this text is perfect for us tonight, because let's be clear, we're talking about God's people. We're not talking about, oh, they were these sinners who left God. No, girlfriend, this was me and you. Okay, these were not people sitting around doing nothing. There were people who were busy. They were working. They were building. They were raising kids. They were trying to be good wives, right? The men were trying to be good husbands. They were trying to be providers. They were trying to make a living. They were handling responsibilities. Their homes had been torn up, so now we got to pick curtains. Okay, somewhere along the way, what God had told them to prioritize had gotten pushed down the list. And that is the question that I need everyone under the sound of my voice to answer tonight. Can you be doing some things right now? Like, I'm talking about responsible things, your home, community, church, even successful things, and still have your priorities out of order? The answer is yes. Sometimes press and refresh isn't about doing more. It's about making sure that the right things are getting your best. So let's look. Let's start with verse 2. Haggai chapter 1, we'll start with verse 2. It says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. These people say the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. I want you to notice their language. The time has not yet come. Does this sound familiar? Y'all, they're not saying we're never going to rebuild. What they're saying is not now. And that distinction matters because the temple, the church, represented God's presence and worship among his people. And rebuilding wasn't merely this architectural project. It represented the restoration of worship. It meant bringing the community back to focus on God. Yet God's priority had been repeatedly postponed. And since we can't talk about priorities without putting that mirror on ourselves and asking, are there some things that God has asked you to prioritize that you repeatedly postpone? The truth is, for many of us, one of the easiest ways that we disobey God isn't we don't say his name out of vain. We aren't cussing people out. We are not doing things that are like illegal, but we're still rebellious. You're like, Kiya, I'm not rebellious. Yes, you are. Every time you say, God, I know you gave me a book, I'll write it eventually. Every time God already told you to start the ministry or join the ministry, God, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. God, we're already in August. I'll do it January. Every single time God told you to repair the relationship, he been told you to apologize and forgive me. You said, well, I don't know. I just don't feel like it. Yeah, I don't feel it. Every single time God said your body is a temple and you are like not taking care of it, God, I'm going to start doing better next month. Every time God says, I need you to come to me and pray, God, I'll pray about it later. Eventually I'll do it, God. That eventually is what messes us up. And meanwhile, we are accomplishing 50 other things. My corporate baddies on here, you are making money for the corporation. You are doing all of the things. You're making other people look good. You are making little stars for your kids, for their lunch boxes. You are showing up to all the parent meetings, showing up to all the games. You are making sure that you take the cruise. You are taking time for your marriage. And like you were doing all these things, and I am not knocking those things, but if we're really going to press refresh on our priorities, we got to look at those delayed priorities, because delayed priorities will eventually become displaced priorities. And there's some things on your calendar that are there not because God prioritized them, they're there because somebody asked. There's some things on your calendar, God didn't ask you to do them. You were just capable, and if I don't do it, who else will? There's some things on your calendar right now, and you know what I'm talking about. They're just there because nobody else raised their hand. They said, girl, you're so good at it. And you're like, okay, right? And we have to be careful because we have this particular vulnerability that sometimes we think because we can do it, people will assume you should do it. But capacity is not the same thing as calling. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean that God assigned it to you. Sis, we talked about this a little bit last week. There's some of you who've lost your peace because you're carrying things that God did not tell you to carry. Sis, there could be some things in your life right now that you have labeled eventually or not yet, and God has already labeled them right now. Look at verse 3. It says, then the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai. Before going into what Haggai shared, here's what you need to know. Up until this point, the people have been talking. They've been saying, not yet, God, later, God, eventually, God. I got to go to JCPenney's and pick out my new decor, God, right? But now in this part of the text, God is talking. Their circumstances had produced a narrative saying it's not the right time, but God sends his word to change their interpretation. And this is important for us to understand priorities biblically. Why? Because we are not to establish priorities based on what feels urgent. Can I be honest right now? Other people's emergency is not necessarily your emergency. Do I need to say it again for the people in the back? Other people's emergency are not always your emergency. Now, you're a caregiver, yes. Okay, no, don't you make them miss their appointment, all right? But I'm talking about every single person pulling on you, sis. You can't say yes to everybody. Like, just because it feels urgent, just because it feels like you're the only one who can. Sis, when is the last time God has actually gotten a vote in the things that you are prioritizing? God gets the final vote. And there are many of us right now, we're living by deadlines, we're living by expectations, we're living by opportunities, by requests, by metrics and emergencies. Everything screams me first. Have you ever gone through a season, oh my goodness, so exhausting, where everyone's like, me. Like when you're like, oh my goodness, like forget you are doing for everybody else. But sometimes you need to stop asking what needs my attention and ask what deserves my attention, because those are not always the same question. Because if you look around, everyone will say they need you, but what is God lending you to do? Because if you're stretched too thin, sis, you ain't going to be good for nobody, including yourself. So before you reorganize your calendar, you got to recalibrate your ear. You got to protect your ear gates, because you cannot establish God-centered priorities without ever listening to God. So prayer isn't just another item on your checklist to do. Prayer is where you discover what belongs in the list. And some of us have gotten our list misprioritized or misaligned because we stopped praying. We stopped asking God what belongs on the list. We started acting like our list was just habit. It's just rich. Well, I've always done it, so I'm going to, well, I did it last month, so I'm going to. How do you know that God shifts things? Just because you did it last month don't mean you're supposed to do it today. Just because you did that then doesn't mean you're supposed to do it today. Can I free somebody now? Do we, sis, it is great to help people. It's good to help people. But just because you loaned them money last month doesn't mean God's calling you to do it now. Just because you gave them a ride last week doesn't mean God's telling you to do it now. It was real nice that you spent 3 hours talking to them yesterday, but it doesn't mean God's telling you to do that every single day, right? Y'all, prayer is where you're discovering what is on the list. Now you're saying, okay, Kiya, I know to go to God in prayer and discover what's on the list. What else can I do? Can I help you out? Anyone on here fasting? Y'all, I love a good corporate church fast. But when I got to my space of spiritual maturity, I had to understand that I needed to do more than the 2 or 3 fasts a year, more than the Advent fast, more than the top of the year fast and the mid, however many they fast. Like, there are times where I will fast for me in my house. Ain't nobody else around me fasting. Ain't nobody around me. No, we just go somewhere and they're like, why is she just ordering cauliflower? Right? But when I feel my most clear-minded is when I fast. When I turn the plate over, when I give up my cupcakes, when I go to God, in fact, that is the most clear that I feel. You know when else I feel clear? When I worship. There are times where I'm up here in my office, I turn off these studio lights, I turn off these backlights, I don't pay attention to the pretty scenery in here, and I will just get on my face. And I'll play some worship music, and all of a sudden, things that are heavy, they'll start lifting, and I'll get my clarity back. Can I tell you what else will help? Silence in his presence. Sometimes, sis, you just got to sit down and be quiet. Sis, God doesn't need to fit your priorities. Your priorities have to fit into God's purpose. But you got to protect those ear gates. Because if you're only listening to what people need from you, you will always find yourself in a place where you are in a constant tug of war, and what God is actually calling you to do, you could miss the whole time. Meet me in verse 4. It reads, is it a time for you yourselves to be living in your paneled houses while this house remains in ruin? Y'all, here God is exposing, he speaks and he's exposing this contradiction. When he talks about paneled houses, he's talking about the finished houses, the nice houses, the well-appointed and well-done homes. The contrast here is intentional because he's saying your house is receiving attention. He said, you got back to the land, you built your house, you got new bricks, you got the columns you always wanted. It's like getting the insurance money and getting all the stuff you wanted put in your house. He's like, everything in your house looks good. You got the wood floors, you got the carpet redone. He said, but my house isn't done. You haven't touched my house. And God here isn't condemning them having a house. The issue is priority and disproportion. So they apparently had found sufficient time and resources for what mattered personally, while claiming the time wasn't right for what God had instructed them to do corporately. And such, we've got to be real careful about our paneled houses. I'm not talking about your physical brick and mortar house. I'm talking about the houses of our heart. I'm talking about where you put your hands, where you put your gifts, where you put your talents. You got to be real careful making sure you're not putting all the priority and how you look and in how you move and in what you say, and you look like you have it all together when you don't know the last time you prayed to God. You can tell me about the last presentation you had at work, but you don't remember the last time you sat in God's presence. You can tell me the last time you stood up and clapped so elegantly with the choir and praise team, but you can't remember the last time you just broke out in worship at your house. Sis, be real careful. Claiming the time just isn't right for the things that God had already instructed. Isn't that uncomfortable? Like God just rolling up on you saying, oh, that's a nice suit. When's the last time you've done X, Y, Z? Those are nice red bottoms, but when's the last time? Remember, God's don't got no problem with having the nice things. He's saying, but you can't forget me in the process. I want you to notice something. Verse 4 here shows us something. We find resources for what we have prioritized. They didn't have time for God's house, but they found resources for their own house. And for us, many of us, if I wanted to see what you prioritize, I could just look at your bank statement. If I want to see what you prioritize, I'm just going to look at your calendar. If I want to know what you prioritize, I'm going to look at your screen time report. If I want to know what it is you prioritize, I just have to listen to your conversations, to your commitments. They tell a story. And it's not always a bad story. Sometimes your story is, I'll be able to see your family matters. Everything, dinner together 4 times a week and going to little Johnny's baseball game this Saturday. Oh, look, they're going to family Bible study together. For others of you, I can tell your health matters. You're like, every day I get up, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. For others of you, I can tell your marriage matters. You're going on a marriage retreat this weekend. For others of you, it's very obvious God matters, right? But here's the thing. Priorities are not only what we say matters. Priorities are revealed by what repeatedly receives our resources. Who or what is receiving your resources? Because that's what matters to you. Well, Kiya, I like, do I need to say it again for the people in the back? Your priorities are revealed by what repeatedly receives your resources. So ask yourself, what is paneled in your life while something that God cares for remains unfinished? Maybe for you, your career is paneled. Remember, paneled stands for that aspect that is well-groomed, that's well put together, that you put resources in, right? Maybe your image is paneled, since you have it going on, but maybe everyone else's needs are paneled. Maybe your business or your ministry is paneled, but your prayer life is in ruins. Your health could be in ruins. Your family needs attention. Your emotional life needs attention, or the assignment God gave you hasn't been touched. Sis, your calendar will eventually confess what your mouth keeps calling a priority. And truth is, you can build an impressive life and still neglect the life God actually called you to build. Sis, when I get to those pearly gates, what good is it for me if God said, your life was okay, but I had more planned for you? What you mean? Like what it got, those degrees were cool, Kiya, but you didn't do a single one I told you to do. It's cool, the people you chose to help, but that's not what I told you to do. Sis, you can have an impressive life and still be neglecting the very life God has called you to live. Look at verse 5. It says, now this is what the Lord Almighty says, give careful thought to your ways. Sis, here's what we need to understand. When in the Hebrew expression, the phrase, consider your ways, it's vivid. It literally carries the idea of setting your heart upon your ways. So God is telling them, pay attention. He's saying, examine your path. He's saying, think seriously about the choices that you're taking. He's saying, I want you to notice, he doesn't say do more. What does he say? Look. And there are times where we look at priorities. Some of you, even now, when I said, we got to look at our priorities, some of you were like, yes, I need to join more ministries at church. And I need that. Girlfriend, priorities, when we're reassessing them, it means look, not necessarily do more. And for many of us, for the high achieving woman, your instinct, when something isn't working, I'm going to add another strategy. I'm going to buy another plan. I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to join another team or committee. I'm going to start another challenge. I'm going to attend another conference. And God's saying, before you add anything, I need you to evaluate everything. Got it? Before you add anything, Evaluate everything. That's what it means to press refresh. So tonight, God's saying, I want you to evaluate. What are you currently doing? I want you to gauge what are you producing, and then evaluate. Does this still belong in this season? Because just because something was right back then does not mean it is right now. Y'all, I believe one of the things this text, when it tells us to look at our ways, it is saying you need an audit. You have to do an audit of your priorities. Ask any business owners, they do regular audits, right? What does an audit do? It gets into the nitty gritty of the company, and it basically shows the skeleton. Where are things going? Where is all this? And basically, what this text is inviting us to do when God says, look at your ways, he said, I want you to do a priority audit. I want you to look at where's your time going? Where's your money going? Where's your mental energy going in the midnight hour when you're awake? Who are you crying those tears for? When you feel frustrated, who or what is that connected to? The gifts and the talents I gave you, because the Bible says we have them. Like what are you putting those to? Or are you just sitting on them? Your emotional capacity, where is that going? What and who is actually getting the best version of you? Because you cannot press refresh on what you're unwilling to review. Right now, can you truly say God is getting the best version of you? Sis, you should have known when we talk about priorities, this tonight was going to be tight, but it's right. Sis, reflection is not wasted time. And if we're not careful, we'll say, oh God, I don't have time to think about the past. God told you to right here. He's saying, I need you to evaluate where you are. Because reflection is not wasted time. Reflection keeps you from wasting your life. Reflection keeps you from making the same mistakes. So when we think of mistakes, we ought not linger there, but we ought to learn from them. Anybody have relationships in your past? You're like, God, thank you for breaking it, but I learned from it. Thank you. It may have been a friendship relationship. It might have been a romantic relationship. And it's not that you want it back, but you're grateful for what you learned from it, because now that you've reflected on it. Yeah, I thought about what I said. I thought about I had no boundaries then. I thought about this, that, and now I see that as I go into new relationships, maybe I need to function differently, or maybe I need to assess who and what I give access, right? Reflection will keep you from wasting your life. And there's some of you who are wasting your life right now because you refuse to take the time to what? Reflect. Look at verse 6. It says, you have planted much, but harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. You earn wages only to put them in a purse with holes in it. Ooh, why do I feel like he's cussing right there? Y'all, this right here, this verse was written for the exhausted achiever. The one who everyone is looking at, and you look good with your bad self, but you're exhausted. I want you to notice the repetition. There's a lot of activity, but very little satisfaction. Sewing, eating, drinking, dressing, earning. These are all normal activities. And so the problem isn't necessarily the activities, it's the outcome. And so here's what we see. There's this principle that we see here in the text, that examining our lives, we have to examine our lives, these areas of our lives, not because they're bad, but we have to make sure that we are stewarding them correctly. We have to make sure that we're not putting it in the purse with holes in it. We have to make sure that we are not in a space where we're drinking and never having our fill. Sis, what do I mean? Have you ever accomplished something and thought, why don't I feel better? Like you got the additional degree, and on graduation day, everyone was like, oh my gosh, congratulations. And you're like, feel different. Anybody been there? You got the promotion and it was like, oh girl, you got, and you were like, why don't I feel better? You did another event, you planned another successful event, and everyone's cheering you on, and you're like, why do I feel empty? You got a new client and you should be so proud of yourself. You checked off something else on your bucket list, but for whatever reason, you still feel depleted. Sometimes the problem isn't that you're unproductive. You're productive just in areas that cannot produce what your soul is actually asking for. Because the truth is, can I tell you something you already know? I'm just going to affirm you right here. Achievement doesn't produce peace. Applause does not produce identity. Money does not give you purpose. Busyness does not produce significance, and recognition does not produce intimacy with God. So here's what you have to ask yourself. Am I experiencing fruit or activity? Ask yourself that. That is two totally different things. In your life right now, are you experiencing fruit or are you just experiencing activity? Because there's a difference between being productive and being purposeful. You can be successful at something that God never asked you to do. Like, I am very confident that right now I could go downstairs and bake a pretty decent cake. But it does not mean God told me to bake a cake, right? I'm pretty sure I can make some decent cookies, but it doesn't mean God told me to bake the cookies. It's not a sin if I make them. It's just I'm using my time and resources on something that God didn't tell me to do. Like tomorrow, I could be like, I'm leaving the journey. No more Bible studies. I'm going to go open a bakery. There's nothing sinful about opening a bakery, but it's just not what God called me to do. You see what I'm saying? And as extreme as that example may seem, there's some of us who are really living that life where you are doing something that isn't necessarily sinful. It's just not where God told you to put your priority. It's not what he called you to do. So some of us, you don't need another accomplishment. You need alignment. And if your bag keeps getting fuller while your soul keeps getting emptier, it's time to check your priorities. If I'm talking to the woman on here tonight who you're in a space where you just feel empty, it's time to check your priorities. Look at verse 7. It says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. God says it again. This repetition matters. Sis, consider your ways. God said it in verse 5, and then he described their experience. And here he goes saying it again. In other words, he's saying, look at your life. Look at the results. Now look at it again. And sometimes the evaluation becomes reevaluation. Here it is. Just because you evaluated your life last December as you were preparing your New Year's resolution does not mean you need to wait until next December to evaluate if you're in God's plan, right? This is a daily looking at your priorities. Isn't something we just do monthly or quarterly like you're some corporate. No, we are doing this daily. Daily, when I wake up and pray, I said, Lord, let me talk to who you want me to talk to today. Let me connect with who you want me to connect with today. God, let me see whatever emails I'm supposed to see today. Let me make whatever connect. Let me do it today, God. Why? Because I want to make sure my priorities are aligning with God. And if you evaluated your priorities back in December, January, I am so proud of you. That is great. But this is August. Life change. Anybody's life changed since January? Some of you, it has changed dramatically for the good. Some of you, it has been devastating, but your life changed, sis, since January. Your kids changed. They're going through puberty now, right? Your responsibilities might have changed. Your capacity might have changed. Your assignment, maybe you're like, but I know I'm in the same assignment. Cool, but it might have entered a different phase in this season. So your priorities need ongoing examination. This is why we know your priorities require maintenance. So you don't just set them once, you revisit them because some things need to be started while other things have to be stopped. Other things have to be sustained. And can we just be honest? There's some things that just have to be surrendered to God. So what looked like obedience in your last season can become a distraction in your next season if you are never going back and asking God if you're where you're supposed to be. Look at verse 8. It says, go up to the mountains and bring down timber and build my house so that I may take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. Here we see after God has told them in the previous verses to look at their life, it tells us that God gives instruction. I love this because God doesn't just say what's wrong. He tells them what to do next. And so this is for the person who is living in this life where you feel you have sinned your way out of God's presence and you've done so many terrible things and woe is me. God is not just letting you see what you did wrong. If you stop shaming yourself long enough, you will actually hear the next steps that God has for you in your life. Since the instruction is practical, what does he say? Look at it. Go with me there. Underline it. What does he say? He says, go First instruction, go up to the mountain. What does he say? Bring. Underline the word go, underline the word bring, and then what does he say? Build. Go, bring, build. I want you to notice the purpose, that I might take pleasure in it and be honored and glorified. That is the ultimate priority. When you are looking at your priority list for that person who says, Kiya, I don't know where to align my priority. I genuinely don't know if I'm hearing from God. Look at this. He told them to prioritize what he could take pleasure in, prioritize what would honor and glorify him. Look at your list of priorities, sis. Somebody needs to open their Lily Pulitzer calendar right now. Somebody needs to open that iPhone or Android calendar right now. Open it. And as you open it and you look at your day today, as you look at your day tomorrow, what on there was pleasing to God? What on there honored and glorified God? Because we were created for the pleasure of God. So if your list of priorities is not honoring God, if it's not pleasing to God, you see where I'm going? Sis, the ultimate priority here is God's glory. So their priorities weren't merely about achieving personal fulfillment. Their reordered life was supposed to bring God pleasure and glory. And so for many of us, purpose does not always arrive in some enormous mystical revelation. Sometimes God's purpose looks like doing the next obedient thing. Sometimes it looks like go. Sometimes it looks like build. Sometimes it looks like apply. Sometimes it looks like serve. Sometimes it looks like stop. Sometimes it looks like start. Sometimes it looks like finish. Sometimes it looks like pray. Sometimes it looks like call. And I get it. You're saying, but Kiya, I don't know my purpose. And really, this is where I would stop tonight, because people hear purpose and they imagine that there's this one giant secret assignment that is hidden somewhere and I have to discover it before I can obey God. But biblically, we already know the significant portion of God's purpose for every believer. You're saying, Kiya, what are you talking about? What are you called to? What is your purpose? Here it is. To love God, Matthew 22:37. I need my fast typers. YouTube, I need my fast typers. What's my purpose? To love God. That's Matthew 22:37. What's my purpose? Love people. That's Matthew 22:39. Matthew 22:39. Y'all might have to catch this in the replay if I'm going too fast. Kiya, what's my purpose? Make disciples. Matthew 28:19 through 20. Y'all do know that's a whole purpose why I post content. I don't post content because I just sit around clipping my sermons. I don't come on here on Bible study just because I have nothing else to do. I'm making disciples. I want to encourage you so you can go encourage somebody else. Matthew 28:19 through 20. What is your purpose? To do good works God has prepared for us. Ephesians 2:10. Ephesians 2:10. Kiya, what's my purpose? To become more like Christ. Romans 8:29. Kiya, what's my purpose? To use our gifts to serve others. 1 Peter 4:10. Sis, your specific assignment may change by season, but your purpose in God doesn't. I just listed right there. Watch the replay of this. It'll be up in the next 24 hours, or you can go over to YouTube tonight and you can watch it. It's live, it's public. Sis, your specific assignment may change by season, but your purpose in God does not change. I just listed out your purpose. I gave you scripture. So to the woman who doesn't know your purpose, stop waiting to discover your entire life's blueprint before obeying what God has already made clear. Start with the next faithful step. Press refresh. So what does a useful priority filter look like? So how do I know if something should be a priority? I got you. Does it glorify God? That right there is going to help someone's relationship right now, or even your friendship. If all your friendships do are talk negative, or just talk about people, or the next gossip reel, that doesn't glorify God. That's probably not a place you should be. If that romantic relationship is negative, if it is abusive, if he draws you away from God instead of bringing you closer to God, that shouldn't be a priority, right? What else? How else, Kiya, do I filter out what should be a priority? Does it agree or align with Scripture? Scripture is very clear about God and what he desires of us, right? Does this steward what God has entrusted to me? God has given you gifts. God has given you talents, but is it what God has for you? It doesn't mean you're supposed to do it, right? So just because I have the voice to preach and teach, God has not called me to every population or every person, and that's okay. So before I ever go anywhere and preach or teach, minister, with every invitation, I pray, Lord, let me know if this is where I'm supposed to be. Just because the date is available on my schedule doesn't mean I'm like, oh, I'm available, I'm going. No, I pray, Lord, let me know if I'm supposed to be there, because let me tell you what I'm not going to ever be doing, right? Being caught where God didn't call me to be. Also ask yourself, does this fit my current responsibilities in this season? Is it producing godly fruit? I don't want to do anything that is not producing fruit. And here it is God actually asking you to carry it? Sis, purpose is discovered while obeying, not while waiting. Has anyone ever noticed that before? While you are obeying God, all of a sudden other things start making sense. When you give God a yes to one area, you start doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I do like this, or I don't like this. Like, things start becoming more clear as you are obeying, not as you're just sitting and waiting. Sis, you don't need a whole blueprint to take the next step. Look at verse 9. It says, you expected much, but see, it turned out to be little. What you brought home, I blew away. Why, declares Lord Almighty? Because of my house, which remains in ruin, while each of you is busy with your own house. I'm going to go this line by line, but before I do, can I just make this plain for someone? Because I really feel like this is going to help free somebody. You ready? There are some of you, you know that, look at verse 9. Someone needs to underline this. You know who you are, whoever you are. It says you expected much, but it turned out to be little. What you brought home blew away. In other words, everything in your hands. You ever go through a season where everything in your hands, you feel like you're losing? Feel like you're losing all your friendships, all your, like, everything you pick up is, instead of everything you touch turning to gold, like everything you touch melts away. You're like, how is this happening? What is happening? Because my house, which remains in ruins, while you're busy with your own house. God is saying, if you don't take care of my house, don't think you're going to be over there enjoying yours. And there's some of you who are living in miserable seasons of your life right now. You're like, everything I did, everything's just falling apart. I don't know. Sis, could it be for that person who feels that way? I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just asking questions. I don't tell you what to think. I tell you what to think about. I just need you to ask, have you left God's house in ruin? If you're like, Kiya, these areas of my life are in ruin, have you left God's house in ruins? Since this right here, if we'll be honest, is probably the hardest verse, okay? God is explicitly interpreting Judah's circumstances and his covenant, okay? He's looking at my house and your house. He's looking at my house, his house. And here's the striking word, busy. Everybody running around taking care of their own concerns while God's house remains neglected. And that is the danger. They weren't inactive, they were busy. And so being busy can become one of the greatest disguises for being misaligned. Yeah, you want to write that down, don't you? Being busy, if you're not careful, will become one of the greatest disguises for being misaligned, because business feels responsible, doesn't it? Like, to be able to say, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this to do, then I have that. Like, it makes you feel like your day is full, and look at everything I'm doing. We wear it like a badge of honor. But God may be saying, yes, but out of all those things you're doing, out of all these vacations you're taking, out of all these projects you're taking on, out of all of these caregiving things, out of all of this, out of all of that, what did I ask you to do? Sis, you can usher, you can sing, you can preach, lead, volunteer. You can join on every single anniversary committee and run 3 ministries in between. You can attend every single conference and every single Bible study, but you still have to ask, God, is this my assignment? I love that y'all are on here with me tonight. I love it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't even say it's your responsibility. God, am I supposed to be on the Bible studies? Because just because you were on with me 1 week doesn't mean God's calling you to keep coming back, right? God, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm supposed to be doing? You got to ask yourself, because everything important doesn't have to become your assignment, sis. Look at verse 10. Therefore, because of you, the heavens have withheld their dew, and the earth its crops. Since for an agricultural society, dew and rain were not conveniences, they were livelihoods. So again, within the covenant framework of Haggai, the prophet is interpreting this as divine discipline connected to Israel's disobedience, okay? So it's not if things aren't working, you're out of God's will, right? That's not it. Job was suffering and he was righteous. Paul experienced hardship and he was obedient. Jesus went to a cross and he was perfect. So difficulty does not automatically mean misalignment. We want to be good stewards, so we should look for misalignment. But some of you are looking, you're like, Kiya, I've been praying, and when I look at my calendar, when I look at my priorities, I am doing what God is calling me to do. That is great. Difficulty, the truth is, can be the difficulty can be in examining what it is that you are doing right or wrong. But that is Haggai's invitation. When something repeatedly isn't working, we usually say, what strategy do I need, or what do I need to do different? But sometimes the better question is, God, what is it that you want me to see in this? Difficulty is not always something that we're like, oh, Lord, let it go away, let it go away, let it go. Oh, okay, yeah, we want it to go away, but before it goes away, Lord, show me what you want me to see out of it, so that if it happens again, I know what I'm to see. Not every closed door is spiritual warfare, sis. Not every difficult season means you miss God, but every season can be examined before God. So don't just evaluate your results. You got to evaluate your alignment. So before you ask God to bless what you're building, you got to ask yourself, did he call you to build it? All right. Final verse, verse 11, it says, I called for a drought on the fields and the mountains, on the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and everything else the ground produces, on people, livestock, and on all the labor of your hands. Y'all, this completes God's explanation of Judah's circumstances. And notice how comprehensive the language becomes. Fields, mountains, grain, new wine, oil, people, livestock, labor. Their misplaced priorities were affecting more than just one isolated area. And that is a really sobering conclusion to this section, because misalignment rarely stays compartmentalized. So if work becomes everything, eventually your relationships will fill it. If everyone else's needs become everything, eventually what'll fill it? Your body will fill it. If achievement becomes your identity, eventually your peace will fill it. If ministry becomes more important than intimacy with God, eventually your soul will fill it. Priorities will always create ripple effects. So whatever consistently receives first place will eventually shape everything else. This is why alignment is so important, because if you are misaligned, it is going to shape everything else in your life. So sis, when we talk about pressing refresh on your priorities, it's really an invitation. It's an invitation to come back into alignment. So God isn't saying, priorities, why aren't you doing more? No, he's saying, are you doing in this season what matters most? Because the goal isn't to fit more in your life. The goal is to make sure your life is filled with what belongs there. Sis, if you receive this word right now, go ahead right where you are and say amen. Let's pray.